I hear him. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
Hey, what's up with it, fam? It's Hot Boxing Minute, your favorite pharmaceutical engineer turned boxing analyst, back at you with that uncut boxing analysis as only I can serve it to you. Let's talk about the great fights that we had this weekend, especially what's going on out there in Abu Dhabi. Correct. What went on out there in Abu Dhabi, out there in the United Arab Emirates. We had Dmitry Bivol versus Zurdo Ramirez in a fight that many people were watching attentively because there were a lot of implications on the winner of that fight. It was a good fight, needless to say. You can go check my video prediction on that fight, and I was correct. Sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes I'm correct. This time I was correct. I would say safely I'm correct about 80% of the time. Not to toot my own horn, but I believe that is a good indicator to show that I understand the sport of boxing somewhat. I'm not much of a sports bettor boxing community. I'm going to start doing my research into understanding the sports betting stuff for boxing, because boxing is one of those sports that if you really understand it and how it works and what's going on with the fighters, their camps, where they're at in their careers, injuries, their styles, you can predict to a fair degree of certainty how these fights are going to turn out. It's not an exact science. This is boxing. It's the theater of the unexpected, so anything can happen. But anyways, Dmitry Bivol essentially styled on Zurdo Ramirez, and I think most boxing fans going into it that any kind of critical analysis skills were of the mindset that Dmitry Bivol was going to win. There was a lot of people who were very impressed with Zurdo Ramirez and his undefeated record. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say he was about 44-0. And well, he's got a blemish on his record now. He lost a unanimous decision win to Dmitry Bivol. On my scorecards, I gave, Zurdo, honestly, I gave Zurdo like 3 rounds. And that's being very generous. Dmitry Bivol was essentially doing exactly what we thought he would do, staying behind his jab, using his in and out footwork to kind of bait Zurdo Ramirez into moving forward and then just drilling him with shots. He had some fantastic sequences of action that obviously DAZN and their production team decided to use as tidbits, and those were the excerpts that they released from the fight. Overall, on the CompuBox punch stats, Dmitry Bivol landed 131 punches out of 643 attempts. That's 20.4%. And then Ramirez landed 107 out of 878 attempts. That's 12.2% completion percentage. So obviously Bivol was, even though he threw less punches, he connected more and had a higher effective connect percentage. Dmitry Bivol going into this fight with Zurdo Ramirez was the #1 rated defensive fighter in the game. Second behind him is Shakur Stevenson. And I don't exactly know who the third one was. I did just recently see a list on that. The one thing about that fight is there were definitely spells in it where Dmitry Bivol relaxed, and he still won these rounds, mind you, but there was at least 3 or 4 rounds. I can count them right here on the total punches landed as opposed to thrown, but as far as landed, in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, he only landed 8 punches, 9 punches, 6 punches, 9 punches, and he was still running away with these rounds. Dmitry Bivol is just a problem. So Dmitry Bivol successfully defends his WBA World Title Championship. It's WBA or WBO? One of those belts he has anyways. Dmitry Bivol successfully defends, and WBA. I was correct. So Dmitry Bivol, the next fight, he has 2 big options. For those of us who have been paying attention, Dmitry Bivol is either going to fight Canelo Alvarez in a rematch, and there's even been talks about Dmitry Bivol going down to 168 pounds and challenging Canelo Alvarez for the undisputed middleweight championship of the world. That would be phenomenal, historical, and groundbreaking, and would definitely put Dmitry Bivol's name in the greatest of the era in the conversation at the very least. I don't know if he's got enough fights on his record because he's only about 17 fights into his professional career or something to that effect. I really should have wrote these down before I did this video. Personally, I'm of the belief that Canelo should avoid these 175-pound guys at all costs. I think it would serve more to Canelo's benefit to have Dmitry Bivol fight him at 168 pounds. I believe that inherent size and weight advantage that goes to Dmitry Bivol would kind of be nullified if he moves down to 168 pounds. I don't see Dmitry Bivol moving down to fight Canelo despite the fact that it is life-changing money. He already made life-changing money in the first fight with Canelo Alvarez. I'm sure he got paid at least 7 figures to fight out there in Abu Dhabi against Zurdo Ramirez. That leaves one conclusion. Title unification, an undisputed fight between Dmitry Bivol and the monster, Artur Beterbiev. They both used to be on the Russian national team when they were amateurs. We come back full circle. Andre Ward is no longer in the game. Joe Smith recently lost his strap, the WBO belt, to Artur Beterbiev in a crazy, very short, action-packed 2 rounds out there at Madison Square Garden. And now the only logical conclusion left, in my opinion, is going to be Dmitry Bivol against Artur Beterbiev. I believe strongly that Dmitry Bivol is going to go that route and take Beterbiev. I think if Canelo Alvarez still shows interest in that fight, Dmitry Bivol will take that fight with Beterbiev and come back down. And then we could have a super historical, mega undisputed fight between the undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world and the undisputed 168-pound champion of the world. Although, that is kind of jumping the gun, because I am of the belief that Beterbiev beats Dmitry Bivol. Even though Dmitry Bivol's footwork and hand speed is excellent, Artur Beterbiev has insane power. And I wouldn't call Artur Beterbiev a technical slouch in his own regards. No, Artur Beterbiev does not move at all like Dmitry Bivol does. He's not nearly as mobile on the feet, but I wouldn't call him a slouch on the footwork either. He's not just some immobile bum, although he does prefer that you stand in front of him so he could let off those heavy punches on you. But I've seen Artur Beterbiev do some things that definitely classify himself in the technical boxer category. So he is well and capable of timing Dmitry Bivol coming in, because Dmitry Bivol does have to do the in and out movement thing. And if you're a boxer with a lot of experience, you could time him and catch him with something heavy to slow those fast feet down. Joe Smith Jr. managed to catch Dmitry Bivol with something heavy in the closing rounds of the fight that they had a few years ago. So it is not outside the realm of possibility. Now, Zurdo Ramirez, despite catching that loss, still has a lot of options available for him. Obviously, I don't see Zurdo Ramirez moving into fighting with Artur Beterbiev. I think Artur Beterbiev only has Dmitry Bivol in his mind and becoming undisputed, especially given Artur Beterbiev's age. So now we have, Zurdo Ramirez, relatively new to the 175 division, but big enough a frame, enough experience of a guy to be considered, obviously, a top dude in that division. He's still in the top of the rankings list, according to Ring and most of the sanctioning bodies. So there are plenty of fun fights for Zurdo Ramirez, plenty of high money fights for him. Guys like Callum Smith, guys like Joe Smith Jr. There's still plenty of options out there for Zurdo Ramirez. So I'm very interested to see what he decides to do next, because just because you lose to a guy like Bivol, that doesn't mean that you're not still an elite world-class fighter. Zurdo Ramirez has great wins over fighters like Arthur Abraham, an aged Sullivan Barrera, back-to-back fights with Jesse Hart, Maxim Vlasov. He has shown himself to be more than just some slugger that I think some people who don't understand boxing well enough have him painted as. But hats off to Dmitry Bivol. He was a class act and got a clear, wide, unanimous decision win. Boxing community, what did you think about Dmitry Bivol's performance over Zurdo Ramirez? What's next for Dmitry Bivol? What's next for Zurdo Ramirez? Let me know in the comments section, y'all. Let's chop this up. And the co-main event to that big, huge card out there was the second thing I wanted to talk about. Chantelle Cameron and Jessica McCaskill. Boxing community, if you are not yet up on game when it comes to women fighting, I think now is a better time than ever to hop on board the train. It is moving at a faster pace than it ever has before. We're seeing bigger fights with these women fighters than we have seen at any time in boxing history. In fact, I would go so far as to say this. Boxing, as far as what we deem to be that good, pure, uncut, top-of-the-line fighters fighting top-of-the-line fighters, is pretty much being carried on the shoulders of these women fighters and these sub-130-pound fighters, and everything super featherweight, and under. We've got a lot of prima donna activities going on in lightweight. Definitely a lot of prima donna stuff going on at 160 to 168. We're not getting the Spence Crawford fight, but these women all year long have been delivering us quality fights. We had the historical fight at Madison Square Garden between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Just a couple weeks ago, we had Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields. We had Alicia Baumgardner and Michaela Mayer. And this past weekend, just yesterday, we had Jessica McCaskill and Chantelle Cameron fighting for the undisputed junior welterweight championship of the world. Now, mind you, McCaskill lost this fight. I gave Jessica McCaskill 3 rounds and Chantelle Cameron the other 7. You know, Jessica McCaskill does her thing. She's not the most educated footwork type of fighter. She's definitely kind of a bull in a china shop kind of style. Really reminds me of, Ricardo Mayorga. I know it sounds weird to say that, but Jessica McCaskill's fighting style reminds me of Ricardo Mayorga. Heavy on that front foot, heavy on the pressure. Except unlike Mayorga, she doesn't gas out in later rounds. Jessica McCaskill's cardio tank is really, really, really well. She can fight into the later rounds, and she can throw those haymakers and do the bull inside a china shop routine well into the later rounds of a fight. That's actually when she's most dangerous. And in that fight with Chantelle Cameron, she was kind of getting outboxed, which was what I figured was going to happen because Chantelle Cameron is a very disciplined boxer-puncher with a very educated jab. And both of them are very hateful, spiteful fighters, which was great because there were sequences of action where they were both biting down in their gum shield with that look of just determination on their faces. And you love to see it. You love to see it, especially when it's women. Oh, women fighting. It doesn't get any better than that. Oh, you got to love that stuff, folks. But hats off to Jessica McCaskill for that valiant effort. She did lose the decision to Chantelle Cameron, who is now the undisputed junior welterweight champion of the world. A lot of doors are open right now for Chantelle Cameron. I mean, to the left and to the right. At the 140-pound division, I really don't see much for her. Maybe Sandy Ryan, Erica Farias. But that 135-pound division, oh boy, Katie Taylor. That's the big one. Katie Taylor is the undisputed lightweight champion of the world. Maybe one division up. You got Chantelle Cameron, the undisputed junior welterweight champion of the world. That would be a fight that could easily sell out an arena, maybe even a stadium. I know Katie Taylor has thrown around the name of Croke Park, 80,000 people stadium out there in Ireland, although I think she's saving that for the Amanda Serrano rematch. But Chantelle Cameron's name is now on the board because now you've got 2 undisputed champions going at it. Those sanctioning fees would be out of control should both sets of belts be up on the menu. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Chantelle Cameron, actually, it was somebody else. It was Jessica McCaskill that lost to Katie Taylor. But yeah, so Chantelle Cameron right now is looking at a super fight with Katie Taylor. We don't know what's going to happen in the future with that one, but leave it up to the women. The women, although the talent pools may not be deep in each division, their ability to move within 2 to 3 divisions, within 1 to 2 divisions of their natural weight class, leaves them with plenty of tantalizing options as far as possible opponents. So Chantelle Cameron, the doors are wide open for her. The doors have not closed at all for Jessica McCaskill, y'all. Don't get it twisted. She is still the undisputed welterweight world champion. So she's still holding all 4 belts for the major sanctioning bodies, including being the lineal. She could possibly run it with Victoria Bustos in her weight division. I think the most tantalizing fight potentials for Jessica McCaskill would be Terry Harper, who just moved up and won a belt at 154. You got Natasha Jonas, who's going to be fighting Marie-Eve Dakari in about a week or so. Excuse me. I think her best bet would be to fight the winner of Marie-Eve Dakari and Natasha Jonas. Plenty of options still open for Jessica McCaskill. Her record, if I'm not mistaken, I wrote it down here, is 12-3. Chantelle Cameron 17-0. Anyways, plenty of options for both women. The winner, Chantelle Cameron, and the loser, Jessica McCaskill. Boxing community, what did you think about that performance on Chantelle Cameron's part? Oh, Lord. I'm dying here. My allergies are killing me. Let me get a sip. Anyways, boxing community, what did you think about Chantelle Cameron's performance? What's next for Chantelle Cameron? What's next for Jessica McCaskill? Let me know in the comments section, y'all. Let's chop this up. This is Hot Boxing Minute, the future of boxing analysis on YouTube and TikTok. Peace.